Hello, everyone. Welcome to what is this now? Our sixth CME Palooza session of the day. I'm Derek Warnick, one of your co-producers of CME Palooza. Let's go to the slides. Let me pull them up. All right. Very good. This is our afternoon snack session, if you're on the East Coast anyway, sponsored by Physicians Education Resource, PER. This is our Would You Rather Grantor Provider Edition session, and it is what you think it is. It's the Would You Rather game that your kids probably played. We're going to have a number of Would You Rather questions. I'll be turning things over to our moderator, Phil Telemo from PER. But first, everyone's favorite part of CME Palooza is the reading of the sponsors. A big, huge thank you to all of our sponsors. Our gold sponsors, MedLearning Group and, of course, PER and Projects in Knowledge. Our silver sponsors, Peer Audience, Academic CME, ACHL, Integrity Continuing Education, Hippocrates CME, Platform Q Health Education. And our bronze sponsors, Antidote Education Company, PVI, CMEology, Haymarket Medical Education, Vindico Medical Education, Medscape Education, RMEI Medical Education, Global Education Group, Real CME, Answers in CME, Helio CME. Second page, Creative Educational Concepts, Integritas Communications, Infograph Ed, Prova Education, DKB Med, CME Outfitters, Evolve Medical Education, Spire Learning, Red Med Ed, Foresight Learning, and Excalibur Medical Education. As always, there are two different ways you can ask us questions. You can use our Creative Educational Concepts text line to send in a question, 267-6660-CME. Or you can tweet in your questions using the CME Palooza hashtag. I'll be monitoring both of those. One of the things you'll be able to do during the session is if you have any of your own Would You Rather questions you'd like to ask the panel, you can send those in and we'll try and get to as many of those as we are able to. Just like the other sessions so far in CME Palooza, we will be using our audience response system from Peer Audience. This is, of course, Poll Everywhere. Still the same ways to do it. You can download the Poll Everywhere app and put in CME Palooza 005. Or you can also just plug in the URL down there into your web browser. Either one works fine. I'll have it pop up during the session too in case you need it. And then our last slide before I turn things over to everyone. Any opinions, discussions, and or conclusions expressed are those of our panelists and do not represent an endorsement by or a position of their employer, its parent company, or affiliates. And with that, I am going to turn things over to Phil. Phil, take it away.
Very nice. Thank you very much and welcome. Derek, awesome job producing this. I am Phil Talamo from PER. I'm very excited to moderate this session of Would You Rather in CME. Today we're going to play a debate game whose origins have been debated over time. Did it start at the dinner table? Hey kids, would you rather have feet for hands or hands for feet? Perhaps it was started at the pub. Hey Frank, would you rather have 5 shots of Jaeger or drink a yard of Guinness? We know it is here. We don't know where it came from, but we're going to apply it to accredited CE, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm your host, and I'm pleased to introduce our panel of experts. From the provider side, we have Jim Palatine. Jim, tell us about yourself.
I'm Jim Palatine, president of Pharmacy Times Continuing Education, and I go back maybe 10 or 15 years of Would You Rather at the dinner table. So I wish I had patented it then, but I didn't, so I'm here.
Welcome, Jim. We also have Melissa Wiles. Melissa, tell us about yourself.
Hello, thanks for having me. I'm Melissa Wiles, VP of Educational Strategy at Integrity CE. I am a CME lifer and a longtime CME Palooza lurker. So happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Very good. And Stephen Chavez, tell me about yourself.
I'm with Prova Education. It's good to be on this side of the CME Palooza camera. I've always had some opinions that I was afraid to share, and now I get a chance to do that.
Very good. And bringing us around on the supporter side, we have Deb Moonen. Deb, tell us about yourself.
Hi, all. This is Deb Moonen. I'm the director of oncology at AstraZeneca in the MIGO department, and it's really great to be here. Thanks so much.
Very good. And Alexa Vintimilla, tell us about yourself, Alexa.
Hi, everyone. I'm Alexa. I am a manager on the Global IME Grants team at Jazz Pharmaceuticals, and I've been with the company for about 2 years. Before working at Jazz, I worked on the provider side at PER, so thanks, Phil, for having me.
Very good. And take us home, Dustin Ensign.
Thanks for having me today. This is a great opportunity for me to learn from everyone. Dustin Ensign, I'm the Director of Medical Education at Grail Bio. It's a diagnostics company. Prior to that, I was the global lead for funding support at a rare disease company, Ultragenyx. And then before that, I spent many years at Genentech in the IME group. And I'm very happy to be here. So thank you.
Very good. Well, it's great to have all of you as well. Let's get started. So the rules are pretty simple. We're going to pair up two people, sometimes a provider and a supporter. Maybe we'll mix it up. We'll see how it goes. And we're going to ask a would you rather. The catch is no middle ground is allowed. We need firm choices and some good thoughts around it. So none of that, maybe if the situation was up, not having it. We're making some firm decisions here, like a grant proposal, right? It's either rejected or it's approved. That's just how it goes. Reminder, these opinions are for fun. They are in no way reflective of any of our organizations or any of us that we are affiliated with. So that is good. There's going to be several opportunities to do a little poll everywhere. So I want to make sure that you're engaged in that. Get the fingers ready. You can submit questions on the CEC text line, or you can tweet them to me at Phil Talamo. I'm going to be moderating them. I would encourage you to tweet at me. Probably don't follow me. I'm really not that exciting on Twitter. So that's a little bit of a disclosure as well. So let's just jump right into it, right? So question number one, we're going to pair up Alexa and Jim. So the question is, when you are submitting your first outcome report, would you rather submit it early with less details or submit it later with more details? Let's go to Jim first. Jim, what do you think?
All right. Thank you, Phil. From what we hear from funders is that they would like to have as much information as soon as possible. So typically that includes the number of participants, the specialty of these participants. So if you can provide that within 12, 24, 48 hours, that's preferred. The rest of the information can come later. The challenge you have with that is, the performance or the change in knowledge sometimes takes a little bit longer to put together and provide to the funder. So I think having the information as soon as possible, was it successful in reaching an audience, and was that audience the audience you intended, is what we hear is most important.
So what was it? What did you say? Submit early with less details? Is that what the answer is?
I guess if I'm picking, submit early with less details. But if you can provide those details early, that's preferred. And so if you can provide that performance change and change in practice within 12, 24, 48 hours, that's preferred.
Very nice. Well, I noticed that you said some supporters have given you some feedback on what they want. So we happen to have several supporters here. Alexa, what do you think? What would you rather?
So I would have to agree with Jim. I would rather a less detailed outcomes report within 24 hours of the activity. And then, of course, the more detailed report whenever it's available. Our team at Jazz really is interested in the programs that we support. And so after an activity takes place, I am asked by the team how many learners attended, what kinds of questions were asked by the attendees. There's always interest in seeing the presentation slides. And so if I'm able to provide that information upon request, then that really is a big plus. And I understand that the pre-post test data usually can't be provided within 24 hours. I know from working on the provider side that those types of reports take a lot of time and analysis, but I think other items like presentation slides and number of learners, specialty is great to have. Those types of things can be provided pretty quickly. And although it's less detailed, it still helps us show the immediate impact of the programs that we're supporting.
Very nice. Let's see what we got. Interesting. It looks like most of the audience would like a little bit more time in that. All right, second would you rather. Same, Alexa and Jim, we'll let Alexa go first. Would you rather work from home or would you rather go to the office?
So overall, I would rather work from home. Not having a commute has definitely given me more time in the day to work out and cook dinner early. But of course, I miss seeing my coworkers. I think it's really important to get together in person, especially for team meetings. So for me, going into the office maybe once a week would be ideal.
All right, a little bit of middle ground, but that's okay. Jim, what about you? Work from home or go to the office?
Work from the office. By necessity needed to work from home last year at this time, and did okay. But as soon as the office was opened up and is optional to come in, I'm here now 5 days a week, and I prefer the break between work and home, so that 20 to 30-minute drive home, get to decompress, and then once you're home, and you try not to do too much work. So I'm work from the office person.
All right. Looks like you're in the office right now. I don't know if it looks like an office.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
There we go. All right. Let's mix it up here. Let's go to Stephen and Deb. Question number 2. Get your poll everywhere ready. We got this huge, innovative new grant. Like, we're talking game changer. Do we submit a full comprehensive proposal? Do we present like a PowerPoint, maybe a short brief? This is a tough one here. Deb, why don't you start us off?
I think you're on mute, Deb.
I knew that I would do that, Phil.
It's okay.
So it is a tough question. I think I prefer an outline. So, maybe a high level sort of concept of the description of the program that addresses, the educational need. The learning objectives would be helpful, the intended audience, the timing of the program, and maybe the cost of the program, and like an estimated total cost, and whether or not the thought is that it would be multi-supported or sole supported. So I think that's basically enough information, for us to, for me to sort of take a look at something that's really new, like if you're talking a huge program that's innovative. Budgets are usually limited, and adding a new sort of big idea to the plan is really hard. So, a concept outline takes a lot less time too for the providers to develop. And I've been on your side of the fence, and I know it's a lot of work to develop a full blown out proposal. So, and it takes me less time to review it and maybe take it to the committee if need be. So.
Very nice. All right, Stephen, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. For those reasons and others, I think that the time saving on our very busy supporters is helpful. But we're really in the business of storytelling. It's so much easier to tell a story with those impactful graphics. But also, when you're talking big, huge, you're probably talking professional societies, advocacy organizations. They got to get on board. So it's important to have that outline in front of them and approved so that you can stay on schedule. And then you just carry that narrative all the way through into the more detailed thing. So when it's allowed, it's not always allowed. I like what our friends at Nova Nordis are doing by asking for concepts up front. But when it's allowed, I think that's our preference too.
Excellent. Let's see what the audience says. A little closer than I thought. I was expecting, a lot more short brief. So sometimes there's a lot of benefits to the huge, comprehensive 146-page proposal. I know that, a lot of time and effort goes into that. So
I think we won. I think Deb and I won.
I think you won. Scoreboard. All right. Best location for the Alliance. Stephen, what do you think? San Francisco or Orlando?
I'm definitely San Francisco. I don't go to Orlando without my kids. Food, and San Francisco is the place.
Deb, what do you think? Alliance, Orlando or San Francisco? Are you muted again? I think she said move the alliance to New Jersey, is what I think she said.
No, I would be.
Okay.
I would be, in Orlando for sure, like a big kid because I'm very old, but a kid at heart. So, so I would definitely want to go there. But I don't know if I would want to do any kind of theme park with a mask on.
Very good. I snuck over to Disney in the last Orlando. If you're doing it, don't post on social media. Maybe your spouse will see it and they'll be jealous that they weren't in Orlando as well. All right, let's keep moving. We got a couple nice questions coming in here on the CEC text line. We're gonna hit those up in a couple of minutes. So switching it over to Melissa and Dustin, and question number 3 with the audience. So let's say you've got funding approval at a smaller percentage, and you need more funding. Would you rather accept the LOA knowing that there's a potential for a change of scope, probably pretty good potential, or do you want to keep that approval as a verbal and regroup on it a little bit down the line? So Melissa, what do you think?
Well, first of all, this never happens at all. But no, seriously, I think I find it better to keep the approval as a verbal. I would rather have the conversation with a commercial supporter and let them know how many grants are out there, where they are in the submission process, and give them an idea of any kind of scope change that may be needed to make sure that it is still meets what was outlined in the original request. So that's how I would prefer to handle it most times.
All right, very good. Dustin, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I guess I would have to say accepting the LOA knowing a potential for a change of scope. And the reason being, from a commercial supporter perspective, I may be using some dollars at the end of the year to try to capitalize. And so let's get that funding out the door and make sure that we have something that could eventually come back, and we know we still want to support it. We can plan on getting some additional dollars in the next year. It just gives us another opportunity to support something that we may not have necessarily planned for, or we may not have necessarily had the money in the moment. So making sure that we have that money locked in, it's out the door, is maybe how I would answer this. But question's a little worded towards the provider angle, so I'm not quite sure. I might not be answering that correctly, but
I think it was a pretty good answer. Let's see what the audience says. It's a little weight on that, but we've got our first, kind of point of comparison of the day. This is pretty exciting. Thank you, Dustin. Very good. All right, well, let's keep it moving here. So let's shuffle it up. Let's go over to Deb and Jim. This one, I'm going to give one from the CEC text line. Would you rather have an outcomes report that shows the bulk of learners were member of the target audience, or ones that said you had an absolutely humongous audience, but most were not in the target audience? It's a tough one. I see Jim thinking, but you went first last time, so let's have Deb go first.
So I would rather reach my target audience. I would have to say, I think it's more important, I think, to my personal educational strategy to have our programs reach the target audience. And that's why I guess that's why I never support anything without, any kind of live event without an enduring, materials, so that you can expand the reach of the program beyond what happens live. So, I like to reach audiences that, are, let's say, in disparate parts of the country where there's not, where they really need the education. So I actually have this conversation a lot with providers, like, we really just need to reach, this target audience, even if they're, regionally in parts of the country that are not, the norm, when you sort of see that horseshoe of education that we see, the distribution of education that we normally see across the country. So, even if we only have a handful of people in the room, let's say, if we know that it's, sort of the right folks in the room, I think that's the preference.
Very good. All right. That's a good one. Jim, what do you think?
Thanks.
What would you rather?
I agree. I think hitting that target audience is what what we try to do all the time. Is that we develop the needs assessment with that target audience in mind, and we develop the content with that target audience in mind. And as if we can demonstrate outcomes of learning of that target audience or application of that target audience, while it may be small, it can be applied to a much larger audience. And from a provider standpoint, that's very gratifying that you are able to move the needle. But then also from what I hear from the funders is that this information is helpful because it can be applied to the much broader audience and future funding for specialties. So I would say smaller and focused.
Very good. All right, let's keep it moving. Let's swap it up for Alexa and Melissa. We have another question from the CEC text line, and I want to make sure we're hitting these because we got some nice participation. So, would you rather support a level 5 initiative, knowing you're likely to have a small number of learners? Kind of similar question, right? Who reported they improved their practice, or would you rather fund an initiative where there were a huge number of learners that objectively demonstrated they improved competence? So we're talking small number, level 5, or humongous number, not level 5. Alexa, why don't you go first? You see you're itching to say something.
So I think practice change, of course, is really important. It's always the end goal. So level 5 programs and outcomes are really useful. I think as a supporter, when you support a level 5 program, it's understood that there's going to be less learners, but the outcome might be more impactful. I will say we don't receive a whole lot of programs that are, grant requests for programs that are requesting a level 5 outcomes, and we would probably like to see more. I think they're really useful and they're great programs. And then, where there's other programs that reach a large number of learners, that's great too. But I think for the level 5, it's understood that there's going to be less learners.
Very nice. Melissa, what do you think?
I'm gonna, I guess, play the devil's advocate here. So while I totally agree, I also believe that in a space that's changing and new information is coming out very rapidly, sometimes just even knowledge transition and translation is the best that you can do in terms of competence. So I level 4 sometimes is. I know we're not supposed to say it really depends on the situation, but I do believe it does in the practical world. And I think that there are, sometimes just really transfer of knowledge is often overlooked in what we do, and the importance of just, awareness, knowledge, and competence. So that would be the other point of view.
Very nice. We're going a little off script here, so this is a lot of fun. Got some questions here being submitted. So let's shuffle it up again, and we'll go to Dustin and Steven. We're going to go to question 6. This is a nice audience response one. I'm excited for this. So the question is, at the end results of a program, would you rather have a tremendously successful program that exists, or would you have a moderately successful program that is published somewhere? So let's go to Dustin. I saw the head tilt, so that's an invitation, I think.
I think I'm a little bit too animated when I talk on these things.
You're talking to the right guy then, I think.
Yeah.
I'm sitting on my hands, actually.
I actually thought about this one a little bit. I would probably lean more towards a moderately successful program that is published. Part of the reason being, I would love to see these programs have legs beyond one and done. And I think that speaks to our internal teams as well, in seeing these programs continue to impact future educational activities that we may either support or others may develop. So being able to develop best practices from these programs that can be shared is always something that we're looking for. And that's where I would lean.
All right. What do you think, Steven?
Yeah, I agree. I'd add to that CME, those of us who've been in the business for a long time know that we've, we're sometimes the redheaded stepchild in healthcare and in different areas. So, our contribution to value in health, in the way that HEOR recognizes it, it is really rooted in publishing for them. And so while the healthcare person inside of me wants to just see great outcomes for a cohort, I think that if we don't contribute what we've learned about a program to the science, then we're sort of handicapping ourselves as an industry in terms of our contribution to the value narrative. And so I reluctantly have to say that, publishing almost always wins. Even if we have a failed program, we can talk about what went wrong and other people can learn from that. And so, having legs is not just, like Dustin appropriately pointed out, internally and extending the value of a program, but I think even adding to the body of science is an important piece for all of us, and we should participate in that.
Very good. What do we got on results here?
That's great.
Ooh, all right. That's interesting. This is fun.
We got dunked on, Dustin.
That's okay. Sharing opinions. I like it. All right, let's keep it moving here. We got a really interesting one, and I'm going to totally change it up. We're going to go with Alexa and Deb. That is 2 supporters for this one. Would you rather have a delay in the launch of a program to include a world-renowned faculty, or would you rather the program to launch faster with like a second or third tier faculty? Play some thinking music here. All right, Alexa, what do you think?
I would rather have a delay in the launch of the program to include faculty that are truly experts in the space. We want to make sure, of course, that we're providing the best education to physicians. And so if it's going to take the program to be just a little bit delayed, I don't think that's a big deal. So that's what I would prefer.
Okay, Deb, what do you think?
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think, it's important to, to have the experts closest to the science, deliver the education. That's my preference. Of course, we don't have any control over the speakers, but if a provider came to me and said, well, here are our options, I would have to agree that I would prefer a slight delay in the program to have, an expert faculty speak to the data.
Very nice. I got a faculty question here of my own. I'm going to ask. This is going to the provider side. So Jim and Melissa, you guys are up on this one. Ready? Keeping with the big and the small. I don't know. That's not the right way to say it. Let's say this. Would you rather, when working with a faculty, work with a huge name faculty that skips every single planning call and then it's going to show up for the activity? Or would you rather work with a brand new faculty that's on every single call? Jim, go first.
I'll clarify. Have we worked with the huge faculty before, and do they provide what you're asking?
Let's ask the panel, thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs up if we've worked with it before, thumbs down if it's a brand new huge faculty.
Okay. So you've
never
never worked.
So it's a brand new huge faculty you've never worked with.
Brand new huge faculty, I would say, I think the planning calls are very, very important. And I think one of the things that you do on a planning call is to go through the proposal, go through the needs assessment, and really so they understand what it is, what the need of your learners are. So I would say that I would want someone, faculty, to be involved in that planning call as you go through. And so as much as possible.
Well, so what do you think?
I would have to, I feel like the faculty really make the program. So I would prefer that they give us input throughout the content development process and we understand how it's going to be delivered. So I would, I definitely, I love the huge faculty, but, I would like them to also participate. So.
All right. Very good. All right, Dustin. I think Dustin and Steve, you guys were just partnered up, right? Did you guys just go?
Yeah.
I got my grid here, but we went rogue, so we'll shuffle it up again. All right, so Dustin and Let's go Dustin and Jim. I know you just spoke, but let's see, because I think this is a really interesting one. Would you rather support, and this is from the CEC text line, would you rather support an activity whose format and instructional design is tried and true, or one that's innovative, whose format is maybe not proven? What do you think, Dustin? Tried and true or super innovative?
Wow, there's so many things to consider. The stage of the
These are tough
product,
questions. I don't know who submitted it, but you got to blame the text line, I guess.
I don't know if I could really, I mean, that's really going to depend on so many things. Personally, I like to push the innovation, and I think that the groups are interested in seeing additional innovation and how we can push the needle and make education more interactive, more sticky, increase performance change metrics, all of that. And I think if we're not pushing that innovation, we really should be doing that. And it's a job for us as commercial supporters as well to help educate our internal stakeholders to kind of push that needle. But you are going to have a lot of people that are going to say, we just want the tried and true. We know we're going to get a return on education in this by doing these programs. So it's kind of a toss up, but personally, I would go more for the innovative formats. Okay,
all right. I like how you came back to a firm answer. Very good. Jim, what do you think?
Do I have to answer this? That's a tough one.
That's fine. Steve, you're up.
I'll answer. I have an answer, but it's tough. I'll do it. So I love the innovation. I love being creative. I love getting the ideas out there. The challenge is when you deliver, and if being a new activity and you have a team of scientific directors and project managers and they haven't seen it before, it's difficult to deliver and articulate. So that makes it much harder from a provider standpoint. And I think, and I'll go in the middle of the ground, that you provide a innovative tactic that's on something that's tried and true, is something that we've done, I think, successfully. So it's real middle of the road, but I think the innovation is really what drives the industry. So I'd stick with the going with something that's innovative.
Very good. Steven, I'm dying to hear what you have to say on this one.
I'm with Jimmy Two Shoes there. I really like the idea of innovation. I think if you have a process internally that can support that, with some flexibility in terms of your launch processes, and Jim's shaking his head, I think you agree that you kind of have to be innovative, because we're really clawing for time with a very busy group of supporters, and so we got to break through the noise. It's got to story tell about the innovation and then execute it. And then pretty soon that becomes boring. It becomes tried and true. And so you got to move on to the next thing.
Very good. Let's change it up a little bit. Derek, let's pull up question number 7 for Alexa and Melissa here. This is one that wasn't in the outline. So if you have to work a major society meeting, would you rather cover the exhibit booth for 4 straight hours or cover a session and formally present the findings to corporate? Alexa, what do you think?
I think I'll take the booth for 4 hours, although that might not be so fun. But
4 hours of booth duty is a lot.
I think I would prefer that, yeah.
And I can say that you may have, I'll allow planning in advance that you could put the Dr. Scholl's in your bag. It's not just a random booth coverage. Melissa, what do you think?
I have ADHD, so I would love to cover the booth and, talk to people. So that's kind of more what I enjoy doing.
What does the audience say of this one? Most people want to go to the booth. All right, okay. All right, let's go to Deb and Steven. So let's say that you have a major RFP that came out, big time. We're talking $600,000 RFP, somewhere in that ballpark. And it's got a hard start date. So we're not talking curriculum, like one thing. Do you submit one program for $600K with all the bells and whistles and everything else? Or do you submit multiple programs for less, thinking maybe you get different hits on it, maybe? I don't know, Deb, what do you think? You want the $600K grant, or you want a bunch at 100 to 200?
Yeah, I would probably look to sort of maximize the education as far, and have multiple programs for that budget. It is hard because it depends on what that sort of big idea looks like. If it was 600, if it was for all the marbles, but I think I'd like to just spread it out a little bit, over multiple providers, multiple concepts, addressing the educational gaps and needs in different ways, with different formats. So I think I would go with multiple activities.
All right, Stephen, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the funding mechanisms for RFP have changed over the last couple of years. Earlier, it was like use it or lose it. So I would have done all 600 because they had to spend it in one fell swoop. But nowadays, I think leaving some room for your supporter friends to bring in some other partners and program support and things they have to do in addition to trying out your new innovative project is, I think, helpful. It's the feedback I receive. I guess it depends on the supporter, but that's the general gist these days. But something we used to do, and we've moved away from it, is collaborative submissions. Like, just putting it out there to my MEC friends, like, let's go in together and give our supporters the best of both worlds in some of these cases. We do this and you do that. And I don't see enough of that going on. So I would say option 3.
All right, let's see what the audience says. 100% at the lower ask amounts. Not surprised. There's something to be said about the big $600,000 new car. I'll say that. But you said something interesting on collaborative submissions. So I have a pretty interesting one, right? So this will be for the providers. So let's go, Jim and Melissa. And the question is, if you're partnering with a society, do you want to partner with an enormous society that does all the work and owns basically everything, or a smaller society where you're really steering the bus? Melissa, what do you think? Muted. She says she's not partnering with the society.
Sorry. I enjoy partnering with smaller societies. I just feel like there is more opportunity for a partnership where everyone has a role. So I think that would be my answer there.
Jim?
Yep. I think I'll agree. When I hear larger society, I hear slower. And that's not always the case, but it sometimes it delays things, and there's more hoops to jump through and more committees. Here, larger society, there's committees to review things. So we've had the most success with societies that are smaller, more nimble, important societies. But we want to be involved with societies that are able to act quickly and get the education out there. That includes in the development process as well as delivery, which is important.
Awesome. All right, here's a supporter one. Dustin and Alexa, buckle your seats on this one. We got a big time innovative idea, right? We're talking big innovations because we're using a lot of technology these days. Would you rather be the first funder of a first innovative program with about 80% success, or the 10th funder of the 10th program with 110% success? Dustin. Whoa, so we got a stumper here. I got patience.
I mean, I talk a big game about supporting all this innovation, but I think at the end of the day, I might go more with the 10th to market. But I think it depends on the company. I think it depends on your resourcing and the risk tolerance for the committees and whether or not folks are really into it. I can push so far, but for a smaller company that might be not having had supported a lot of education, to have a flop program could actually be very detrimental to the future of that program and being able to advocate for additional support. So that might be a little bit more of a challenge, whereas a company that's a little bit more established may be more risk tolerant for support of those activities. So, I mean, it just depends on where I'm at.
All right. Alexa, what do you think?
I would have to agree with Dustin. I think there's so much to consider, especially if it's a brand new type of program. It really depends on the experience we've had with the provider, the experience that the provider has doing new types of innovative programs. So it really depends. I mean, I know at Jazz, we're really interested in supporting these new types of formats, especially in the virtual environment. But there's a lot to consider with this one. Overall, I would prefer the innovative type of format.
All right, Steve and Deb, here's one for you. This is a rarity. I'm gonna say it happens once in a while, so buckle your seatbelts. There's a rare case of overfunding. Like we're talking like we got a little more money than the budget, right? Would you rather a change of scope to basically expand the program, make it a little bit more bigger, better? Or do you want the check back, or do you want a little bit of a refund so that you can fund something else? Steven. Oh, yeah. Deb, go ahead.
I'm sorry. That's easy for me. I definitely want to expand the program. I'm assuming the reason I supported it in the first place is because it was, an innovative program that that we were expecting some terrific outcomes from. So I would say, if you can add pieces to it to make it more innovative, to make it more attractive to the different ways that learners like to learn, add another format to it, I would love that. I rarely would ever, I don't even think I ever have said, no, give me the money back.
Stephen, what do you think?
Ditto.
Ditto?
I agree. I think there's those and other reasons. There's complexities internally too when you have to process that back out, and unless they're asking for it because they have some plans for it, then yeah, you just rescope it and add value to the educational investment for them and articulate that in the change of scope so they can share that internally too.
Very nice. All right, we've got another one from the CEC text line. Dustin and Melissa, would you rather support or fund grants through RFP only or rolling submissions? Anything goes at any time. Melissa.
So I really enjoy responding to RFPs. It really helps understand the targets, the timing, the budget, the funding. So the RFPs themselves give me sort of an idea of the scope, and then it allows me to say, to think and consider, can I add value? Can I bring something innovative from the table? Do I have partnerships, faculty relationships, something that would stand out above sort of the other grants that would come in? So that's, so I really do like the RFP process if I had to pick one.
All right. Well, you have to pick one. It's the would you rather, right? Dustin, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, I just want to take a moment to just thank everyone on this panel because I've learned a lot just listening to everyone's perspective. So thank you for that. I am in the same boat as you, Melissa. I think even from a supporter perspective, there is a lot of interest in narrowing down kind of what we're getting instead of receiving all of these unsolicited proposals that may not have any interest from our perspective. I think one of the limitations, unfortunately, with the RFP only is that I don't always know, or the committee may not always know, what is the best way to handle that type of educational gap. We may have an RFP that's been very well researched. We know exactly what we're looking for, and we actually may miss the mark on something. And another educational provider or third party provider of education may actually have a better way of doing it that we may not have considered. So I think having the RFP process only probably makes the most sense, but being open to having discussions and brainstorming and learning from others while you go probably would be the way I would want to look at that. But
very good. All right, let's change it up a little bit. We're going to go to audience response number 11. You like how these are coded? These are great. Derek, pull that one up here. This is for Jim and Alexa. So you have to answer a pop-up 3 o'clock in the afternoon Zoom call from your boss on video. Would you rather do it on the treadmill while you're trying to sneak in an afternoon workout, or from the checkout cashier line at Target? Jim, which one?
Wow, can't Steven take this one? Wow. I guess the treadmill, sneaking in a workout. Although, yeah, that'd be tough, difficult to hide, but I'll do the treadmill.
Alexa, what do you think?
I would rather take the call also on my treadmill. At least then I would have access to my computer and my notes.
Smart.
So I would rather the treadmill.
What do we have on results on that one? Oh, most people are going with the treadmill.
Good. We redeemed ourselves, Alexa.
Very nice. All right. Let's keep it fun here. Let's go with Deb and Steven, because I got one for you. So you're invited to a wedding for somebody you haven't seen in 10 years. Would you rather be the only one dressed formally or the only ones dressed casually? Deb, what do you think?
That is a strange question. I guess the only one dressed for you never want to be overdressed, do you? I guess the only one dressed casually. Yeah, I don't think you ever want to be, well, either way, you're going to draw attention to yourself, but I think it would be worse if you were the only one dressed formally.
Steven, what do you think?
You got to consider the photos, the pictures. I got to go formal. I'd rather overdress. Always, yeah. You could always just stand and pose I could always just stand and pose with my wife, and no one will ever know that we were the only ones dressed.
All right, I got here. You know what? How about this? Melissa and Dustin. So you go to the bank and the ATM is closed that you drive through. So you have to run into the bank. Do you grab that really, really old mask from a year ago that's stained and crumpled up, or do you do one of these? What do you think, Melissa? You got to go to the inside ATM. Old mask or shirt over the nose?
I don't want to answer this one. I think I'm doing the shirt.
Shirt over the nose. Dustin, what do you think? Old stained mask or the shirt over the nose?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to pull out any scientific terminology around here for any of this stuff, but I think it's probably a safer bet to just do the shirt. I don't know. You don't know what's in that mask, and you might get somebody else sick from what's in that mask rather than your clean shirt. So I don't know.
Venmo is the answer.
That's the answer.
Who uses cash anyways?
So maybe you need some cash. Sometimes you need some cash. I noticed that with these texts or these questions, the text line has quieted down. So we're deep into it right now. Let's go with the supporter only question. So let's say Alexa and Deb. So if you're reviewing a needs assessment and you're looking at the needs assessment part of it, would you rather have outcomes examples that are semi-related from a semi-related, maybe a little bit of a stretch of a past program that the provider did, or would you rather just skip the outcomes overall and just get a really good literature review? What do you think, Alexa?
I think the literature review in this case would be more important and probably more relevant to the objectives of the program. If it's outcomes that are not really related, then I don't know how useful it is. I guess if the outcomes are related to a specific conference that the program is requesting for, then maybe it's useful to see outcomes and experience with that specific congress. But overall, I think the literature review would be more useful in this case.
All right, Deb, what do you think?
I have to agree. I love to see a multi-component needs assessment in general. I like to see, a lot of different methodology with regard to the needs assessment. That's what I would prefer. But if I had to pick in a case like this, I would say, I would agree with Alexa and say that, definitely we need to, I think as a supporter, we need to know that the provider really understands the science, that that they're up to date and everything's there that needs to be there as far as, the most recent data, and sort of how that applies to the learning objectives. So I would have to say, yeah, that the needs assessment in this case, it would be the best choice.
All right, let's keep it on needs assessments. Let's go to Stephen and Dustin. Would you rather a great agenda how about this? A new agenda and an old needs assessment, or an old agenda and a new needs assessment? Think on that one for a sec. Stephen, what do you think? Old agenda, new needs assessment?
Yeah, because agendas are just topical, placeholders for the discussion or for the presentation of science. I think that having the science up to speed is the most important part. Was that the right answer, Dustin?
Oh, I mean, as you describe it, I completely agree with you. But I had initially would have gone the other way, only because what you're going to execute is probably important to be very aware of. And what you're going to execute most likely will be in line with the agenda. But to your point, it also needs to follow the needs assessment. So they're kind of tied in many different ways. So I think I would feel very uncomfortable supporting something that didn't have an updated needs assessment, because to your point, yes, the agenda will grow and flex as faculty come in and start giving feedback and all of those things. So I would lean towards the needs assessment being up to date.
Jim, you look like you're ready to say something. I got to hear it. Jim.
I like how Dustin was persuaded. He moved to, but I was going to say I agree with Dustin. The needs of the agenda is very specific, and but obviously the needs assessment needs to be updated and needs to have the most information. So, good job, Stephen.
Well, I mean, maybe it comes down to live versus digital too. Like there's maybe some more flexibility in the digital agenda, whereas a satellite, you really want to know what's going to be on stage because so many stakeholder eyeballs are going to be on it too. So that might be the tipping point there.
Very good. All right, let's go with Alexa and Melissa on this one. Derek, we're going to go with question. I like this one. This is an interesting one for you. So we're talking about question number 9. You finished a absolutely tremendous presentation at the Alliance. Would you rather have somebody who asks no questions whatsoever when you're done, you finish and it's just silence? Or would you rather go to the bathroom afterwards and come out for 30 people waving their hands saying, I got questions for you? What do you think, Melissa?
I mean, I would always love to have questions, because that way I know people heard me and they were engaged and it was thought-provoking. So that's how I would answer that one.
What do you think, Alexa?
I would agree with Melissa. I think I would feel really good knowing that so many people were listening and that they had all these questions for me. It would be a good opportunity to meet them and hear what they thought about my presentation. And so, yeah, I would rather the 30 questions.
All right. It's out of the bathroom. It's being tracked into the bathroom. It happens sometimes. We've all been there. We've seen it. All right, we're gonna go lightning round. We got about like 3 minutes left. We're gonna do a rapid fire and very, very limited description about it, right? All right. So let's go, Deb and Jim. RFP comes out. Do you put a hard budget cap, or is it an ambiguous response about whatever you think the budget is reasonable? Jim.
Hard.
Deb.
Hard.
All right, Stephen and Dustin. Would you rather, after a live program concludes, debrief and discuss the program with, vice versa, like provider, supporter, within 1 week, or just not talk about it and wait till you get the outcomes report?
I want to do it in the moment. And then hopefully we could get a drink too, just to keep it all good.
Ditto. Yeah, same.
Ditto, in the moment?
In the moment, over a beer, yeah.
All right. Now, I know this never, ever, 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 ever happens, right? But let's say Alexa and Dustin, if a program doesn't go as well as you had hoped and you're the supporter of this program, do you want to know immediately in the moment? Like, you're not there. Like, do you want to know, you want a text that says this is not going well? Or do you want a couple of days for the provider to investigate and provide some sort of report? Alexa, what do you think?
For this one, I would give the provider a few days to kind of evaluate the program, figure out what went wrong. It would be good to know maybe what they would do better next time. So I would give them a few days for this one.
Dustin?
Yeah, this is a challenge, right? Because I think you have a couple different scenarios that I could see playing out. If it's at a satellite symposia and I have team members there and they're also texting me, telling me that it's not going well, I want to know immediately that it's not going well, right? Because I need to be able to step in. Alternatively, if it's like a web-based program, I want to know why it didn't go wrong. I don't really care that it's not going wrong, but I want to know why it went wrong and what you're doing to fix it. Those would be my responses.
All right. And I gotta hear this one because I've been waiting to hear an answer for this. So Stephen and Jim, you hear a supporter, let's say, Steve Smith moves from one company to the next. Do you call them immediately as soon as they move there and try to get on the calendar? Or do you try to get an introduction from someone on that team?
I give them a day.
Yeah.
1 day, 24 hours, one business day or one real day?
24 hours.
How about a text that says congrats?
That's a good one. All right. So last question. We're going to get one good one here. I think we've got a minute, right, Derek? Give me a nod. What is that? All right. So
Or less.
Or less? All right. Well, I think I asked almost all of my questions. How about final thoughts? Give me a final thought. 15 seconds of final thoughts. We're going to go in order there. Stephen, what do you think? Final thoughts.
I'm just grateful to have spent this time with you guys. It was really fun, and let's do the reunion tour soon.
Jim.
You said Jim? That's great.
Jimmy.
I will say that this is very helpful for me, and I think the other associates from our organization who were on. This is, I think the format was great. I think the questions were great. Phil, you did an awesome job at moderating, and I think the questions are such that they come up often. So I think this is a benefit not only to myself but to everyone that's participating. So let's do this one again.
Very good, Deb. Jim took up a lot of time for the final thought, so that's real quick.
No, that's what I do.
Well, you guys know that I try to keep a low profile, so I appreciate the invitation and see you found out why, because I was on mute for the first two questions. So, but I had a great time, and it was great to hear everyone's perspective. So it was a lot of fun.
Very good, Alexa.
I really liked this format. I had a lot of fun. I thought a lot of the questions were pretty relevant. So I'm looking forward to next time. Thank you.
Melissa.
Thanks so much for including me. Had a great time and learned a lot from the panel, and I hope it was useful to everybody else out there as well.
Very good. All right, and Dustin.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. Obviously, a great opportunity to connect with everyone. One of the things I was wondering is, could we do maybe more of like a contentious format next time where we're arguing with each other? I would love to be able to counterpoint some of my co-presenters next time, but tried to play nice. So we'll see.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
That will definitely be it. I'm going to wrap this up because we are at 2:59. Perfect timing. Phil, Hall of Fame moderating job by you. Thanks so much. Much appreciated. Everyone, remember to take our survey if you can. And next session is coming up At 3 o'clock, I have like 30 seconds. I can't find the name of it. Who knows what the next session is? Anyone? Someone tell me what it is. Oh, well, you'll find it. Just click on the link on the live session. It'll be there. Still can't find it. I have like 20 papers on here, and you think I'd have the agenda, but no.
I know the
Anyway,
question. I know the answer, but what's the question?
that's very, oh, there you go. I didn't know the answer or the question. So, all right, thanks everyone. Tune into the next session. Tune in to CME Trivia at 4 o'clock Eastern. And thanks. Talk to you all later. And we are going to end it. See if I can hit the button. There we go.